All right, boys, playoff Jimmy is back for BBR semifinals against OGalbina, who we are facing twice this week in WPF and BBR. If you missed the team builder for WPF, the match goes up tomorrow. The team builder went up yesterday. You can check that out in the top right hand corner. On top of that, you can also check out our opponent Owen in the top right hand corner. He has some fantastic content, man. Pretty similar to our content, pretty analytical, and probably who I would consider the other best battler in the league. So this is going to be a good one, man. I would say very equal skill levels here. And we're going twice this week in 2 semifinals for you guys. I'll level with you guys. I keep it 100%. I told you in the WPF team builder, I thought we had an amazing matchup. Not amazing, but it was definitely in our favor. As far as this matchup goes, I think it's the opposite. I think it's definitely in Owen's favor. This was the matchup that made me drop Walking Wake last time because I felt like it was unbringable. I felt like it was so bad in this matchup and not what I wanted out of a top tier threat on my team. So now we have Chi-Yu instead, and I think Chi-Yu does actually pretty well in this matchup, man, and I'm pretty excited to hopefully get my chance to finally have Chi-Yu shine. We have faced Owen once before this season. His team's going to be completely different. We brought a Sun team last time, so our team is going to be completely different. You can check out that match in the top right-hand corner. But he has, I believe, the same 10 Pokemon that he had before, obviously Chi-Yu leading the way, and there's not too much to preface this match with. Let's go ahead and get into Owen's team, which matches up pretty well into ours in my opinion. The first Pokemon is going to be Chi-Yu, the legend that carried us to the finals last season, is going to be on Owen's team. And unfortunately, with us trading away Torkoal in the Walking Wake trade, we do not have a single Pokemon on our team that can take 2 hits from Chi-Yu very confidently, especially because I think that he's going to be able to be banded in this matchup. Owen also has Enamorus, which is going to be Terra Fairy, Terra Ground, Glimmora, Corviknight, Slitherwing, Alomomola, Mudsdale, Goodra, Rotom-Mow, and Typhlosion Hisui. Last time, Owen cooked us with the Hisui and Typhlosion, and he brought some other stuff like a Corrosion Toxic Glimmora, which I think has to be the set again this time. He had a Scarf, a Rotom-Mow, he had a Chi-Yu, which was obviously going to be choice banded, an Earth Plate, Terra Ground, Enamorus, and then he had an AV Alomomola. This time around, I don't think Alomomola comes. I don't think it makes a lot of sense. You could bring another AV variant into the Chi-Yu potentially, but it doesn't really check it, especially with Ruination whittling it down every time it switches in, not being able to regen that off. I don't necessarily think that Pokemon comes, and I also think he's going to switch up Hisui and Typhlosion from last time, because last time it took advantage of the Sun matchup. This time we have Chi-Yu, which pretty much invalidates that Pokemon as far as I'm concerned. So I don't necessarily think that he will bring that Pokemon, especially now that he knows we're going to be more well equipped for that Pokemon. Chi-Yu in this matchup, there's 2 sets for it. It's either going to be lead Focus Sash with Swords Dance, or it's going to be choice banded, the latter of which does, in my opinion, much better in this matchup, because obviously we have a lot of different things to combat a potential Focus Sash lead Chi-Yu. Could potentially be Adamant in this matchup, but if I remember correctly last time, we crept an Adamant Chi-Yu with our Weavile, so I don't know if he's going to really go that aggressive with it. Next up is Enamorus, and I do think Enamorus still comes, although I do think it has a pretty poor matchup into us. The combination of Slowking plus Bronzong makes its life pretty difficult. If it does come, it's probably going to be pretty similar to what it was last time, which was a Cute Charm set with Calm Mind, Earth Power, Moonblast, and Mystical Fire. It has to at least be those 3 attacking moves. He could also bring some sort of a physical variant, but then it doesn't really push past Bronzong, so I'm not too worried about it. Glimmora is going to come again, and it has to be Toxic Corrosion. I really agreed with the set that he had last time, which was Stealth Rock, Toxic, Earth Power, and Sludge Bomb. It was a very good set into me, and I think more of the same comes this time. Earth Power is obviously going to cover Slowking as well as hit the Chi-Yu for better damage than Sludge Wave, and the Sludge Wave is going to hit pretty much everything else on our team for good damage. Toxic's going to be there for something like the Annihilape and also the Bronzong. As far as the last 3 slots, I think that he is probably going to have 3 new Pokemon, but I think pretty much any of the Pokemon that's not Hisui and Typhlosion could make an appearance in these last 3 slots. The first Pokemon that very understandably did not come last time, that I very much think could come this time, is going to be Corviknight. Corviknight did not obviously come into the Sun matchup, and while we still do have both Chi-Yu and Zapdos, it could put on some pressure and also could potentially tack on Defog, which is something that Owen might value, with me really favoring Hazard Stack, and he knows that. Corviknight's also just extremely bulky, and it could be an Iron Defense set and also make his Weavile game a whole lot better. The 2 Pokemon that would do that would be Corviknight or Slitherwing, and I think out of those 2, Corviknight has a much better matchup than Slitherwing. If Corviknight comes, it's probably going to be Roost, Defog, U-turn, Body Press or maybe Iron Head last slot. It is a little bit of fodder for the Annihilape, so maybe he doesn't have U-turn, maybe he instead has Brave Bird plus Iron Head, but I do think he has Roost and Defog in some capacity if he does bring the Corviknight. The next slot, I actually think Mudsdale has a very good matchup into us. We do push past it with some of our top threats like Chi-Yu and Zapdos, and even the Weavile can potentially push past it, but ground is really good into me and it can pretty much trade 1-for-1 as well as guarantee rocks if he'd rather opt to go spikes on his Glimmora, which is definitely a possibility that we may have to play with here. He would probably just be something like Stealth Rock, Smackdown, Earthquake, and Body Press. That's probably the most likely set that I could see coming in this matchup. And then the last mon, I have Goodra slotted in, but I think it could definitely be Rotom-Mow, it could definitely be Aloe, and much more unlikely Slitherwing or Hisuian Typhlosion. Goodra is a decent enough check to the Chi-Yu. He would probably have to be Rest Talk though, due to the nature of Ruination. And also we do take advantage of it with things like Weavile, but it can soak up hits from things like Zapdos. So I do think it has some usage in this matchup, and I do definitely see it coming to some capacity. The other Pokemon, I think Rotom-Mow could still come, but I don't necessarily know what item. He was Trick Choice Scarf last time, which I don't think makes a ton of sense in this matchup. I think maybe you go Specs in this matchup, if anything, not fearing obviously my ground typing Quagsire. And then Aloe could come, but I think Goodra is probably just a better Chi-Yu wall. And then Slitherwing doesn't make a lot of sense because of Annihilape plus Zapdos. I don't think Slitherwing pretty much ever comes. If it does, I would be very surprised. And then like I said, Hisuian Typhlosion could come, it could make an appearance. I think the addition of Chi-Yu as well as the lack of Sun makes it to where there are 6 Pokemon that are more valuable than Typhlosion in this matchup. As far as the team that we are bringing, much like any other week, we are going to start the team off right with Spanky, hopefully spanking his way into finals. We're going to be a bulk up win con set this week, and we're going to be Taunt instead of Rest with the leftovers. I debated heavily, and this was actually a last minute change. I had Resto Chesto for a while, but I like Taunt a whole lot because it allows us to push past things like the Corviknight, the Alomomola, and the Mudsdale not being able to roar us if he wants to go that route. The Corviknight obviously would not be able to Roost or Iron Defense in our face, and Aloe would not be able to pass Wishes or Baton Pass, all of which obviously Annihilape gets very bothered by, so being able to taunt those Pokemon could be crucial down the line. We're able to bulk up on quite a few different threats in this matchup, and obviously Rage Fist plus Drain Punch do very well in this matchup. I did debate going only with the Rage Fist due to outright his only resist being the Chien-Pao, but I opted to go for Drain Punch just in case he stays in. He might think that I'm only Rage Fist because I've shown a tendency to do so this season. I can send that Pokemon packing, as well as the fact that I don't have Rest really makes me want to go with Drain Punch. I could have been Taunt, bulk up Resto Chesto with just Rage Fist, but I think that this is a much more viable win con in the end game. We're also going to be Terra Fairy. I've said it before, I'll say it again. The Slitherwing is the main reason as to why us resisting First Impression, as well as the stronger priority from the Chien-Pao in Sucker Punch versus Ice Shard, is ultimately going to be the reason why I chose Fairy over Water. Water definitely has some usability, but it makes us weak to a couple of different things like the Rotom-Mow, and Fairy also blocks a potential Dragon Tail Goodra, which is something that could avoid the taunt and phase us still regardless. The only real downside to us being Terra Fairy is obviously the Glimmora. If it outspeeds us, is going to be a little tough, and the Corviknight, if it has Iron Head and it's faster than us for whatever reason, it basically have to be max speed, but it'd be very tedious if he does get some flinches. We're 32 HP, 92 attack, 116 defense, 140 split def with a careful nature and 128 speed. This allows us to live a banded icicle crash from the Chien-Pao at 88%. So after rocks, if we are Terra'd, and we obviously cannot get flinched by that because we are inner focus, we can live 2 Moonblast from a non-Terra Fairy Enamorous after rocks. I really believe that he's going to be Terra Ground once again, so I do think that we do have a good shot to actually do that. And we are aggressively creeping our Zapdos creep from the last time. So very aggressive, but essentially Glimmora crept our Zapdos last time and got it wrong. I think it's going to do the same thing this time, but creep a little bit higher than the speed that we had last time, so we're creeping that. It's a very convoluted thing, but I think it's how Owen's mind works, so hopefully we're able to catch him off guard and be a little bit faster than the Glimmora, assuming not max speed. And then we put the rest into attack. Attack was kind of an afterthought in this matchup, as most times it is with Annihilape. Spanky is here. We got to bulk up. We got to get this in-game right, Spanky. I think Spanky can definitely do it. I think taunting on the Mudsdale could be potentially crucial, as well as something like the Aloe, and not being able to get phased by the Goodra is going to be a clutch. We pretty much always want to be above 50% just due to the nature of how strong Enamorous is, but we have a lot of things we can bulk up on, man, and we have a lot of positions where Spanky realistically can win this game, and this is the best Pokemon in the matchup on our side of the field, and it's not even a contest. Our next Pokemon, I said it had a good matchup, and I was not lying. We have Chi-Yu, Yummy, and we're going to be Choice Scarfed in this matchup. I really don't see another set that we could have brought here. Maybe we could have went for a Flame Charge Nasty Plot set with dual stab, but I really like Scarf to pressure Chi-Impao and Enamorous, essentially because we need a Scarfer to outspeed those Pokemon if we don't go with the Trick Room option in this matchup, which is something that was definitely thought about, and I thought Chi-Yu was probably the best Scarfer in this matchup. We're going to be Memento to potentially set up an in-game with Spanky if need be, and then we're just Fire Blast, Flamethrower, and Dark Bolt. We're 56 HP, 144 defense, 160 special attack modest, a special defense, and 140 speed. This allows us to live an adamant first impression from the Slitherwing after rocks with 75%. We can live a Glamora Power Gem, and we can creep anything that is not Scarf. Last time his Rotomo was not creeping particular things to where it shouldn't really matter us being modest. He shouldn't outspeed us regardless. And then we went ahead and threw the Rust into special attack. This allowed us to also go modest, which is going to be very crucial and very appreciated in this matchup. This modest here is a revenge killer to put pressure on a lot of different Pokemon. He doesn't have great fire or dark resist. Like I said, it's probably going to be the Goodra. I don't know how I'm going to edit this in the video, but I've actually decided after looking at the Goodra calcs, we are going to go Ruination, and we are going to go Fire Blast, and we're just going to potentially risk the miss of not having Flamethrower. I think it's a little bit better, a little bit more comfortable. So we are going to go Ruination just to hit that potential Goodra because it took literally 20% and I didn't look at the calc before now. So we're Ruination now. Our next Pokemon is going to be Zapdos, who just generally has a pretty good matchup. We're Roost to U-Turn, Discharge, and Hurricane. Discharge to fish for a couple of different paras, and Hurricane to hit something like the Mudsdale and the Slitherwing. Discharge can potentially punish a Goodra that might want to switch in on us, and U-Turn gives us momentum on everything, especially since I do think that the Mudsdale can't come in on us. We're obviously Boots because I think that it's pretty likely that we have to play with Hazards up in this matchup. I don't actually ever see a world where he doesn't get Hazards up immediately. And Zapdos is just fat. It can take hits from different Pokemon, and it's mainly here to alleviate pressure from the Corviknight and the Slitherwing if those two Pokemon do decide to show their face. We're 48 HP, max defense with a bold nature, 116 special attack, 44 special defense, and 48 speed. We hit the exact same speed as our Annihilape. We can live a non-banded Icicle Crash and 2-hit KO the Chi-Impao with Discharge. We can also 2-hit KO a Spadaf Aloe with Discharge, and then we put the rest into our special defense. I opted for static over pressure, and this was a decision that actually took a while to come to, just because of the fact that if Chi-Impao does lock into potentially Crunch or Sucker Punch, I would like the chance to static it. I think it could potentially save us the game, and I think I value it a little bit more than pressuring the Aloe or the Corviknight, so that's ultimately what we went with. Zapdos' role here is just to be a general nuisance, a switch into Mudsdale, a switch into Corviknight, and a switch into Slitherwing. Our next Pokemon is going to be crucial for the game plan and might be our lead depending on what 6 Pokemon we see on Owen's side of the field. We're going to bring Rinky Dinky, the Grimmsnarl, with Parting Shot, Reflect, Light Screen, and Spirit Break. I'm Parting Shot this week because I haven't brought it a whole lot, and I don't think that Owen's going to have any Covert Cloaks. I think we're going to be able to Parting Shot pretty free, and if he wants to go into Chi-Impao on that, then so be it. Rinky Dinky can get up a Reflect and get out of there, man, and we see what he locks into. We're Light Clay because I think that this is the only viable way we can really win this game. There's only 3 Pokemon to my knowledge, 4 Pokemon that could break the screen. We have Psychic Fangs on the Chi-Impao. I think Enamorous gets Brick Break, Slitherwing does get Brick Break, and Corviknight gets Defogged. I think those are the 4 Pokemon that could potentially break screens, but last time he didn't have anything for screens, man, so I think we're going to have our screens for the whole game. Spirit Break is really good. I don't think he's going to be contrary Enam, so we'll be able to lower that special attack, and it also gives us the option to hit the Chi-Impao. And I went Parting Shot because I don't think Corviknight will be Covert Cloak, and it'll allow us some momentum on the otherwise free Corviknight. And yes, I tested with Mirror Armor. Our stats do get dropped, but we do still get momentum. We're 248 HP, 32 attack adamant, 152 defense, and 76 Spadaf. This allows us to live 2 Icicle Crashes from Adamant Banded Chi-Impao with our Reflect. We can Oko the Chi-Impao he brought last time with his investment. I think it was like 80 HP after Rocks. We can live a Terra Fairy or Specs Moonblast from Enamorous after Rocks with a light screen up, and then we went the remaining 32 into attack. Getting screens up could be potentially detrimental, honestly, to win with Annihilape in the in-game, because Annihilape honestly doesn't want to take hits from the likes of Enamorous or Chi-Impao without a boost. Specifically Enamorous, because we can't obviously boost our special attack. Our last 2 Pokemon are going to be kind of lame, but I feel like they're needed just because of Enamorous. We're going to have Slowking-Galar with the Assault Vest, Psyshock, Future Sight, Sludge Bomb, and Ice Beam. Ice Beam specifically to help with the Mudsdale. We could have had Flamethrower for the Corviknight. Didn't value it as much as I valued hitting the Mudsdale, because Mudsdale did very well into our team otherwise. Psyshock can hit the Goodra. Future Sight forces uncomfortable switches into potentially Chi-Impao, and Sludge Bomb is obviously very good neutral stab. We are pretty much max Spadaf, and this is just because we can live 2 Terra Ground Earth Plate, Enamorous, Earth Powers. That's pretty much it, man. If he's physical, Terra, Enamorous, then so be it. I don't think physical makes too much sense in this matchup. He could be mixed with Moonblast Superpower and Terra Ground Physical. I don't think they can hit Bronzong very well, so I don't really see it happening. And speaking of Bronzong, I am double ensuring that we do not lose to Enamorous. We're going to be a really weird Bronzong set with leftovers, Stealth Rock, Gyro Ball, Future Sight, and Charge Beam. Like I said, I very much value Future Sights in this matchup because it forces uncomfortable Chi and Pow potential switches or Corviknight switches, and we have Pokemon that can take advantage of both. This could be our potential lead. I do value Rocks a whole lot in this matchup against what I assume will be a banded Chi and Pow. Gyro Ball is there for Chi in as well as the Enamorous, and Charge Beam is just so we aren't sitting ducks on the Corviknight. Corviknight, if it's Iron Defense Body Press, could get out of hand pretty quickly, but I don't think that set makes a lot of sense into Zapdos and Chi-Yu, so I don't think that's gonna happen. We're pretty much max Spadaf because this allows us to take 3 Mystical Fires from the Enamorous if he's max Special Attack after leftovers, and that allows us to 3-hit KO with Gyro Balls as well. And that is gonna be the team, guys. I'm not as confident in the last 2 Pokemon as I am the rest of the team. I think Annihilape, Chi-Yu, Zapdos, and Grimmsnarl are all crucial parts of the team, and then Slowking and Bronzong are there as extra insurance for something like the Enamorous. It's a little uncomfortable because they do let in the Chi and Pow, but we have to play with screens up. We have to get screens up early and play around the Chi and Pow like that. Annihilape, Wincon, Chi-Yu, Revenger, Zapdos is just a general wall, Grimmsnarl screens, Slowking, Bronzong as the Enamorous walls. We are going to play with rocks up pretty much inevitably. It's going to be pretty uncomfortable, man, but we got to make do, and we have to have Annihilape Spanky bring us to BBR finals for the 2nd time in a row. It's against a very tough opponent, man. It's Owen, but I think we can do it, man. With all that being said, guys, look forward to the WPF match tomorrow for semifinals, and look forward to this match on Saturday. Thank you guys so much for watching. And for now, guys, this has been John Jr. signing off.